All right, welcome in. Good almost Sunday morning here on the Auburn Postgame Show, brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. I'm Simone Eli alongside Matt Scalisi. This one just went final in Baton Rouge. Auburn, the big winner over LSU for the first time since 1999 on the road in the Bayou. A big win for the Auburn Tigers. A huge win for Brian Harsin. A huge win for Bo Nix. I mean, the streak is over. You see it right there from Braley, our first comment of the night, Matt. Wow.
Yeah, wow, for sure. I mean, this was a wild game start to finish. It never felt like either team had the game in hand or under control. I don't think LSU ever was able to, firmly establish that they were the better team in this game, even when the lead started to grow a little bit. Auburn kept fighting back. They kept giving themselves opportunities to stay in the game. And I think Bo Nix was a huge part of that. I think, staying alive was kind of the key phrase that comes to mind thinking about Auburn's performance in this game. Their defense would help this team stay alive. They would get a stop when they needed to. Bo Nix would keep a play alive for what felt like half an hour while he's scrambling around in the backfield until somebody got open. Yep. And it counted. Sometimes if you can just keep your chances for winning alive long enough, you can find a way to win the game in the end. And that's what Auburn did tonight.
They certainly did. And I'll be the first to admit, Matt, if for folks that are tuning in right now and that tuned in over 12 hours ago into our pregame show, Matt said to roll with Bo Nix, that benching him in the last game would spark something inside of him and his competitor, just the way he is, the way that he operates. And you were spot on, Matt. I did not think when he was ruled out there as the starter, I was very, very surprised. Then TJ Finley came in the third drive. They reverted back to Bo Nix and stuck with him the rest of the way. I was surprised. I think a lot of folks were surprised, but Bo Nix took the opportunity that he was given to go prove that he is the leader of this program. He did that tonight in what I would consider one of the biggest wins of his career on the Plains.
Yeah, and I'd be lying if I said I thought that this was the performance that they would get out of Bo Nix. I still think between the two options that this was the right move because Bo Nix is the guy who's been in this position before. And I also think that given Auburn's weaknesses, in retrospect, it makes a little bit of sense why it did work tonight. I think you look at how LSU was built this year, they're just not a great offense that's going to require you to run up a ton of points and play a perfect game offensively to keep up with them. But, I think that Bo Nix's feet are really a tool that has not been utilized all that well so far this year by Auburn. And that's something he did well tonight. You can see in his stat line there, rushed for 74 yards on top of the 255 yards passing. Yeah. And I think that 74 yards rushing was everything. I think that made the difference in this game. And it wasn't just that he was a threat to gain on the ground. I think his ability to move around is a big part of that 255 passing yards too. It caused LSU to have to play defense completely differently than probably what they were prepared to do. And even though they shut down Auburn's running backs for the most part tonight, they still couldn't stop Auburn's ground game, and they were forced to play honest the whole night. And I think it created a lot of opportunities for the Auburn offense.
Yeah, I covered Bo Nix in high school. I know you covered him closely as well, Matt, at Pinson Valley. And, there were times where he had to make a lot of plays and extend plays with his feet. And it was the first time in a minute where I felt like he did that, but continued to keep his eyes down the field and not just panic necessarily and throw the ball away. He was able to make plays, extend drives when it was necessary. But Bo Nix, you see the comment there, played like with Johnny Manziel somewhere. Listen, he's been doing that for years. Like, this is actually Bo Nix's style, like it or not. This is a guy who's been doing some things like that for a very long time, and we saw it come out tonight. It was almost as if Bo Nix went into this game, my opinion, with almost I have a nothing to lose mentality. Like, This
Yeah.
is the opportunity that I have, and I can either go out there and prove that this is my team, or lose the job to TJ Finley, because that was what he was facing, and he went out there and he won the game. I mean, what a celebration there at the end. I mean, it was very cool to see Patrick Nix, his glasses all fogged up in the stands, a very precious moment as a proud dad. Brian Harsin gets the Gatorade bath. And you know what? I understand this is not maybe the LSU teams that we've maybe seen in the past, but forget that. This is a huge win for this program and for where they are right now, coming off of a very tough game against Georgia State. So just so much to celebrate, as Auburn fans are obviously doing in the comments.
A lot of celebration in the comments. And yes, this win does matter regardless of who it's against, because this is a tough league this year. There may not be a lot of great teams in the SEC this year outside of Alabama and Georgia, but there's also a lot of very good teams. We do not have this very clearly defined bottom of the league anymore. Arkansas is dangerous now. Mississippi State is dangerous. They just went and beat Texas A&M today. Mm-hmm. The wins are going to be hard to come by the rest of the season for Auburn. And winning this one tonight to start off their SEC schedule, it's a huge boost for Auburn heading into the SEC schedule. But it's also an important win in a historical context, because as we could see, this one meant something to Auburn fans. If you were going to win one early, this is a pretty big one to win, and I think it immediately is going to help create buy-in for Auburn fans and for these players into what Brian Harsin is doing, and maybe into what the rest of these players on the team are doing. I think we are suddenly hearing a completely different tone about Bo Nix than what we were hearing a week ago, and y'all can all call each other hypocrites for it. But that's sports, man.
Winning fixes a lot. Yes, winning fixes a lot.
Yeah,
that is proving to be true. You brought up the running game a second ago. I want to go back to that because the numbers really don't stand out. But Jarquez Hunter getting it done in the most crucial time in that final drive, went to him multiple times, that fake reverse for a huge gain, and then Hunter able to punch it into the end zone as well. Matt, you good?
I'm good. I'm sorry. It's late, y'all. My contacts are drying out.
Talking about Jarquez Hunter, and a lot of folks too, because you know what? And I get it, because he delivered when needed. The offensive line delivered when needed, and I mean, you can't deny it. At the end of the day, when the game was on the line, the run game stepped up, the offensive line stepped up, and got it done.
I think for sure some timely plays by the running backs. I think Jarquez Hunter and really Sean Shivers, I would say, more as a receiver, but he was coming out of the backfield doing it. Those two guys made some huge plays that Auburn does not win this game without tonight. It's still, I think, worrisome that Auburn's run game has not been as consistent the last couple of games as it was to start the season. And that's going to be something they need to address as they get further into the SEC schedule. But they've got players back there. There's no question. There are some really talented guys in the backfield with Bo Nix, and they've got to find different ways to get them some space to do what they do well. I don't know that this Auburn team is going to be the type of team that can line up and smash opposing defensive lines right in the mouth and just run it up the gut over and over again. I don't know that this team is built that way, but there are talented skill position players, and I think there are ways to take advantage of the talent that they have on this team.
Yep. If you're just tuning in, it's the Auburn Postgame Show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. I'm Simone Eli alongside Matt Scalisi. Final from the Bayou. Auburn wins at 24-19. The Tigers 1-0 in conference play. What a start for Brian Harsin and company. Coach Harsin, I want to talk about him just for a second. He gambled this week. He fired a coach. He fired his quarterback for a second, brought him back. At Monday's press conference, straight up said that both guys needed to step up in practice, kind of earn this role, gave both guys a shot early in the game. The guy gambled on himself, and it paid off, Matt. And he took a lot of criticism. He took criticism from me, criticism from a lot of folks. I'll be the first to admit it. Still some things that make you go back and go, wow, all right, that took some guts, but it paid off.
I think this is also in a lot of ways what the fan base wants to see. And look, it's easy to say this after a win, But I think patiently playing things by the numbers, always making the decision that the book tells you to make, always doing the thing that's supposed to be the smart call rather than going with your gut and taking some chances sometimes. Maybe that lowers your chances of getting people mad at you, at having a disaster occasionally. Mm-hmm. But like, what are we doing here, right? It's college football. It's a sport. We're supposed to be doing things that excite people. That's what the whole point of this thing is. If you want people to play it by the numbers, go watch the NFL. Watch the guys tomorrow. But college football is supposed to be a little bit crazy, in my opinion. This game tonight was crazy. I had no idea what was going to happen at any point in this game. I had no clue how it was going to turn out. Yep. And I think that Brian Harsin, throughout the week, as you pointed out, took some chances. In this game, took some chances. I think if you go back to that final offensive drive for Auburn, the play that blew the whole thing open was a trick play. There was a sort of end around reverse rush to Jarquez Hunter that is the play that basically got Auburn into scoring position, and it was just kind of a matter of time after that before they got in the end zone. Mm-hmm. And that's a risky play. That's not totally dissimilar to what they did at Penn State that led to a fumble that may have lost them the game. So this is a guy that is not afraid to make bold choices and take risks. And that's part of this. That's part of this sport. Sometimes those are not going to work out for you. But they worked out for him tonight. I think you look across at the other side right now. Would Auburn fans be feeling bad about Brian Harsin right now if this hadn't worked out? Maybe. I think they also might appreciate that he at least tried to give them a shot to win this game, even if those chances don't work out. I think the alternative. You look across at what LSU did tonight was pretty boring. They tried to do the safe thing throughout this entire game, and they just watched their lead slowly dwindle away, and they never really did anything or took any risks to try and give themselves a chance to win this thing definitively. And that, to me, is way more frustrating to watch as a fan than losing a game because you took a chance on your guys and it didn't work out.
Certainly. Getting us some comments about defense as well. Don't want to ignore that. Matt, you had texted me in pregame, and I had not been looking at my phone in the moment, but there were quite a few guys defensively who were either did not make the road trip, were sidelined for this game. And I was concerned for the Auburn Tigers. I think a lot of Auburn fans were concerned about how that would impact this game on the defensive side. But I really felt as though when it mattered most, again, was it perfect? No, it wasn't. But when it mattered most, this defense in the secondary specifically, I thought stepped up late in the game.
I think they really, with a few exceptions, I mean, that early drive, they were a little bit caught off guard. But I think once they realized that this LSU team is not a threat to run the ball consistently on Auburn, I think Auburn started to adjust and made some great choices. And yes, they were without some of their key pass rushing guys tonight, and it didn't matter. They overcame that. And I think a big part of it is because Auburn's secondary played so well tonight, and they really made it very difficult for those LSU receivers, who are all really talented guys. They made it tough for those guys to find space and get open. You could tell watching this game that Max Johnson was frustrated. He had a lot of time back there in the pocket for the most part, and he didn't have anywhere to go with the ball. He still ended up getting under pressure more often than not. And, I think Auburn's pass rush did a decent job tonight, but I think a lot of it needs to be credited to that secondary. I think this was a good game plan. They identified what LSU's weakness was, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah. So Auburn wins at in Death Valley at night for the first time since 1999. The road does not get easier, but this is
sure doesn't
a rivalry win. And Brian Harsin's first SEC win, 1-0 in the SEC. What more could you ask for? Matt, how does this benefit this program now moving into next week? Because Lord knows this is not an easy Georgia team. We just saw them pistol whip Arkansas today. Their defense is fantastic. This is a team that plays 4 quarters, who coming to the Plains next Saturday, and Auburn fans want to see a fight.
So, look, you mentioned earlier that one of the things that Bo Nix, that you thought you saw in Bo Nix tonight, was that he played like he had nothing to lose. And I think that needs to be the mentality for the whole team next week. And I think everybody should, first of all, try and just enjoy this for as long as possible, because Georgia's really, really good. And I think that you need to go into that game next week with the mentality of, nobody expects us to win this game. We shouldn't place pressure on ourselves to win this game. But just go in there and do things to give yourself a shot. And we saw what some of those things can be tonight. We saw that a little improvisation from Bo Nix can create a lot of opportunities. We saw, I think also, you've got to take some chances defensively. You're going to have to get after Georgia's quarterback. You're going to have to try and blow up some things in the backfield. And this is a talented defense that can create big explosive plays like that. So, but in general, I think the mentality needs to be, all the pressure's on Georgia. Georgia's the one that's going to be playing tight.
Question. Yeah.
This is supposed to be their year, and they can't afford to lose a game to Auburn. They can't afford to blow this opportunity, and that should put Auburn in the right mindset, I think, to play a game where you don't have to be afraid to take chances. You don't have to play everything by the book. Go get after Georgia and make them uncomfortable. And if some of those chances blow up in your face, okay, at least you went down swinging. I mean, I think that seems like both something that fits Harson's mindset right now, and I also think it's the thing that gives Auburn the best chance to win that game.
Yeah. Want to quickly just recap the Bo Nix performance for those just tuning in right now. 23 of 44. And those numbers might not stand out to you, but 255 yards in the air, a touchdown that was on a fourth down play, right? That was just something. I mean, I don't even know.
I think it was third and long.
Was it third and long? Okay.
It might have been fourth down, actually. I would have to go back and look. But yeah, scrambled around for 10 seconds at least.
Whatever it was. Yeah, whatever it was. An unbelievable just playmaking ability there in that moment. The rushing touchdown at such a clutch time by Bo Nix, 74 yards on the ground, and really all the stats that don't show up in the stat book when it comes to extending plays with his feet, and just keeping guys in the game. And he was fired up. I mean, he fought like heck throughout this entire game. And it goes without saying that he responded to a little bit of controversy. He responded to the threat of losing his job. And kudos to that. I mean, tip your hat to what Bo Nix did. Again, winning fixes a lot of things, Matt, but I think this is a huge confidence boost, not only for Bo Nix personally, for the players in the locker room, his teammates around him. We got Georgia fans.
It's already here. They're already here, y'all.
And listen, I mean, like you got to turn the page, because I mean, God knows that Bo Nix and this team. That is what Brian Harsin is saying to them right now. Okay, the Gatorade bath felt good. This win feels good. Everyone's feeling good, but you gotta flip. You gotta move forward, because Georgia's next week, and it's a big game. It's a big game that means a lot to a lot of people. I sound like Gus Malzahn when I just said that, but it's a game that means a lot to a lot of people. And you know what? Good point, Jason. I think that we still saw some issues in the receiving core. A lot of drops, some wide open balls. Thrown to guys that just straight up weren't caught. And
for sure, but some of those too, I think you have to remember, were actually smart plays. I think Bo Nix, as much as he scrambled around back there today, and he was under a lot of pressure, he got rid of the ball a lot. And sometimes that's a smart play. Sometimes you got to get rid of the ball and live for the next play. And one of the most important parts about Bo Nix's performance tonight is not in that stat line, because he didn't throw an interception tonight. He did not turn the ball over and make any big mistakes, and that helped keep Auburn in this game. Again, a lot of what he did just kept them alive just long enough for that last drive to materialize, and I think that's important to remember. I don't know how many more teams left on Auburn's schedule are going to be teams that Auburn can blow out and sit on a lead for the rest of the game. A lot of those games whichever one's left that Auburn's going to win, I think part of the way they're going to have to do that is keep yourself alive until the fourth quarter and then find a way to win once you're there. You got to let yourself give yourself a chance. You got to stay alive and do the things it takes to stay in the game. So, that's
Auburn
to me.
Don't like the sound of that because that means like heart attack.
Unfortunately, I don't know how many boring, relaxing blowout wins y'all have left on this schedule, if any. But I think that there
hasn't been wins like that for Auburn in a long minute. I'm married to an Auburn fan, and it's been a long minute since there's been a time where games have felt in hand when you want them to feel in hand more than ever.
If we wanted to be bored, we would all spend our Saturdays watching golf instead of college football. But here we are. We're watching college football. It's exciting. We don't know what's going to happen, and I think that this Auburn team right now is good enough to win a lot of games left on their schedule, but the rest of this league is very, very tough. And every single win that Auburn gets from here on out, you guys should be celebrating and overjoyed about because they're all going to be tough to come by.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, whether you're beating the worst team in the SEC or the best team in the SEC, with the first-year head coach in a system with brand new coordinators, you name it, it's hard to come by in the SEC any win. And you celebrate them, you enjoy it, but this one is extra special. It's a rivalry win. And Josie, I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. Every win in conference is huge. Doesn't matter who you're playing, but especially in the circumstances right now with Brian Harsin trying to implement his program and what he wants to do on the Plains. But Auburn gets it done for the first time since 1999. Y'all go celebrate. You've earned it. It's Sunday morning. I mean, it's like we're watching the Pac-12. I mean, my God, that game, it has started late. I mean, Matt, like this is as late as I've ever covered a post-game show in my life. This is crazy.
Look, I'm fortunate that these contacts didn't pop out in the middle of the show here, but this is about as late as I go, Simone.
Go get some under eye cream, Matt. I mean, my goodness, go to bed, man. Like you got kids and stuff.
I gotta get up and make biscuits in the morning or whatever. So we'll probably send everybody on their way. But I hope you guys have had a great, fun night. It was a real thriller of a win, and good to have something to celebrate.
Absolutely. Auburn gets it done on the road in Death Valley, 24-19, the final over LSU. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. Thanks for all your comments. This is the Auburn Postgame Show brought to you by Medical Properties Trust. Have a great rest of your weekend.
Medical Properties Trust, at the very heart